Hey guys, Tyler here. Thanks for checking out my video. And we finally have a new beta video and a beta build for Marksman Hunter. So in this video we'll have the different beta changes in comparison to the alpha, what we're going to be doing for covenants, and even a look into conduits. So let's get started.
Mr. Eggplant presents.
So our favorite spec, Marksman Hunter, is finally getting some love on the beta. So we have some updates that we're going to chat about today, whether that be talking about some of our abilities, covenants, any of our talents, that sort of thing. So first and foremost here, all the information that I'm going to be showing you guys today, all the links and sources will be found in the description of this video. They're going to be taken from write-ups on Wowhead and the forum post from Blizzard in their forums. And if you want to check out my alpha video, that link will be down there as well. So first and foremost, changes that we saw, just base changes, are aim shot and arcane shot / multi-shot will have their focus cost increased by 5 apiece. So aimed goes to 35 and arcane shot and multi-shot go to 20. So that's going to slow down and require us to use more steady shots during our rotation. And then also rapid fire, its duration was lowered to 2 seconds from 3, and the damage stays the same. This is actually a great thing because one of the biggest complaints that I read on my videos, on forum posts, on just about anything with Marksman Hunter is that they hate rapid fire because it just gums up your rotation and it's not fun to play with. Currently in BFA, it's perfectly fine, and I actually really enjoy it because you have so much focus regen you can get from it, and then so much just like with expedient, that sort of thing. Your haste is really high where it wouldn't be currently in the beta. So basically those changes are just going to require you to use more steady shots. I don't even use a lot in BFA right now. I use them quite often at the beginning of the expansion and then rarely at the end of the expansion, and I really think that that's what Shadowlands is going to feel like as well. You'll get used to needing 35 instead of 30 if you are still playing Marksman. So I'm not worried about these too much. It's nice to see that they're changing rapid fire just a little bit because that 33% difference can go a long way. So as for talents, these will be all talents that were changed, some minor, some actually major changes and like redesigns, as you can see there. So first and foremost, the level 15 row, Master Marksman, which in current BFA gives you a free arcane shot whenever you cast an aim shot, which actually makes the build flow really well. Well, it doesn't do that in the beta. So first, it currently gives an aim shot an additional 25% chance to deal a crit strike, which is probably broken because there's going to be a point where you can stack enough crit where you can almost guarantee you that it's always going to crit, and it lowers the value of crit for a player because obviously aim shot does your most damage, or at least it should. And if you already have a 25% chance to crit with it, there's no need to stack more crit, and you can, stack mastery, that sort of thing. But this change, so your critical shots cause your target to bleed for 15% of the damage dealt over 6 seconds, which is a passive. I really think this is going to be amazing. It's going to be good at the beginning of the expansion, and as you get towards the end, it's going to be even better because we're going to get more secondary stats, more chances to crit, which means it's going to proc more. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not really sure how the dot is going to work though, just because, for example, if I have for some reason 100% chance to crit, and I crit with an aim shot at the very beginning, and let's say it did 100k damage, it's going to bleed for 15% of that damage, so it's going to bleed for 15k over 6 seconds. Well, what happens if I crit again right after, and let's say I just hit them with an arcane shot and it hit for 50k? Then is it going to do 7.5k in addition to the 15, or are they going to get rid of the 15k and add it with 7.5k? For the dot. I'm not really sure yet. That's just going to have to be something that we play around with in the beta. Hopefully I do get into it very soon. And then as well, the Serpent Sting's duration was increased to 18 seconds, was 12 seconds. That's pretty much just trying to get you to maybe use it. I really still don't think it's going to be viable because it doesn't do a lot of your attack power, and it does require you to kind of work on your uptime on it. You would want to have, you know, nearly 100% uptime. As for the level 25 route, careful aim, basically we no longer have the 80-20 zone, as I like to call it here on my channel, where our aim shots do 1.5 times damage above 80 and below 20. So now it's just above 70, which is actually really nice because a lot of fights you're going to bloodlust at the beginning, so we're going to be able to take advantage of that more. Or also, if you bloodlust at the end of the fight, which, you know, that also happens, we're going to have our kill shot at the last 35%. So if you really think about it, we're going to have execution ranges from 100% to 70%, and then from 35% to 0%. So I really think that that's a boost to us overall. So for the level 35 row, we see a lot of changes, particularly 2 of them were completely redesigned, and 1 of them just flat out replaces another ability now. So first, the Steady Focus passive, whenever you cast your Steady Shot twice, it now increases your haste by 7% for 10 seconds. I could see this being really good if you used it just before you used your True Shot. So that first 10 seconds of your 15-second True Shot, you're going to have 7% increased haste. That could be a really big deal. Where I could see it being good at the beginning of the expansion, and then maybe not as much by the end, because we're going to need those secondary stats, and I'm going to guess that we're not going to stack haste at the very beginning. We're probably going to stack crit and mastery, so this would be a nice kind of in-between, because you're going to be casting the steady shots anyway as you get used to the extra focus needed to cast an arcane shot, or chimera shot, as we'll see here in a second. And an aim shot. And then the Streamline passive, so now Rapid Fire just does increased damage, 15%, and then reduces the cast time of your next aim shot by 30%. I could see this being really good, particularly in PvP, but I think if I were to rank these, it would be number 3 out of these 3 options. And then the last one, which will be the one that I take, at least as it sets right now, will be Chimera Shot, because it replaces Arcane Shot straight up. Basically, it doesn't have a cooldown, and it just has a focus cost of 20. It's Arcane Shot that hits harder and hits 2 targets. It can still put on precise shots, any Torias power, legendary effect, that sort of thing, which should also bleed if you are running up here with the Master Marksman talent. So if it does crit, it should also bleed, which will be really nice. It is just a great option, especially if there's going to be 2 targets in a fight, they're going to be close together, where Arcane Shot can't hit 2 targets where this one can. Level 45 row lethal shots, its proc chance was just increased to 30 from 20. Basically, as it sets right now, it was kind of lagging behind Deadeye. Deadeye is what I currently would pick, where it gives you your kill shot 2 charges and causes aim shot to recharge 50% faster for 3 seconds. Where lethal shots still works exactly the same way as it does in BFA, only now it'll have a 30% chance instead of a 20%. I still think Deadeye is the way to go here. It just, having 2 charges of kill shot, especially coupled with the Flayed Shot that you get from Venthyr, the Covenant, which has, whenever you hit them with your Flayed Shot, the dot, it's a 20-second dot, and it has a 15% chance per tick to allow you to use kill shot regardless of their percentage of health, which would be really nice because it'll constantly recharge those aim shots in the middle of a fight, and that could be a real game changer. And then finally, the level 50 talent, which was Lock and Load, it just proc chance has been increased to 8% from 5. 5 has always been so low, so 8 will be nice, particularly maybe in arena settings, PvP, where you value a lot of burst damage. I think that might, a little bit could go a long way with that extra 3%. But if I'm going to be playing in PvP, I'm always going to probably be running with Calling the Shots. Calling the Shots was good in Legion because it was the snowshoes. It's been good in BFA, and I think it's going to be amazing still in Shadowlands, and I really think it's a nice talent. So we've talked about the talents that were changed. If I were to pick, if I'm starting out and I'm level 60 and I'm going into a raid setting today, I would be running with Master Marksman. I would run with Careful Aim. I would run with, these doesn't really matter, but for a raid setting, Natural Mending. I'll run with Chimera Shot, These doesn't really matter, but I'll run with either Born to be Wild or Post Haste. Here I'm going to run with Deadeye. In here I'm going to run with Calling the Shots. So the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be the conduit traits, and then also the covenants and soulbinds. This is not something that I've talked too much about. We did about covenants, but not about the other stuff. So if you want to read more of this in depth, and this is actually what I'm reading off of, this is a write-up by Moofs up on Wowhead. It's definitely worth your time. He spends a lot of time on his Marksman Hunter, and he's doing a lot for the community. So be sure and read up what he's written up there, because it's always worth your time. So basically, I agree what he said here. Basically, we talked about it in my alpha video. The Venthyr is where we're going to want to go, and we're going to run with that Flayed Shot because it's going to help us do so much, and it couples so well with Deadeye, as long as it does stay the same we get closer to actually getting to play Shadowlands and Kill Shot, just because we're going to rely more on Kill Shot and that lower 35% health and Aim Shot. So I really think Flayed Shot is going to be the way to go. So I think we're going to be vampires for Shadowlands. And then as for conduits, this is not something I'm about to obviously play in beta itself, but the conduits that I'm looking forward to seeing the most are going to be the Deadly Chain here. Simply buffs our damage. Basically what it does is whenever you get your trick shots, when you hit 3 targets, and unfortunately we still have to hit 3 targets to be able to cleave outside of our Chimera Shot if you choose that. It just does an increased amount of damage by 10%. So what it does right now is it does it does 50% of whatever the base attack was. So if you hit for 100k, it's going to split to the next up to 5 targets for 50k. Well, now it would do 60. So this was just a pretty brief video of me just chatting about the things that I'm going to pick and just talking about the changes. I do like some of the changes, but I do wish that they would go a little bit farther. And who knows, they're listening to some of our player feedback, as you can see here. This is all about feedback for Hunter changes. I do like the change to Master Marksman. I think that was a positive, as well as the Careful Aim. I agree with that as well, which gives our kill shot more potency at the end of a fight. And then the other thing that I do like is the Chimera Shot replacing Arcane Shot, because I am a hunter that plays Marksman right now. So I know the hate, and you'll hear it in my videos of, oh, there's only 2 targets. Well, I guess I'm single target. Where now, just think about it in BFA mindset, because basically Shadowlands is building on BFA now, so it doesn't look like they're going to do another complete rework like they did from WoD to Legion, from Legion to BFA. So basically, it's single target plus. So I'm casting my aim shot on target 1, and assuming target 2 is right next to them. Think of it like in Freehold on Eudora, Jolly, and all those good buddies. So if they're sitting there together, you cast your aim shot on one guy, and then you hit them with an empowered Chimera Shot, which is already a buffed up version of Arcane Shot. That's going to be some nice damage, and you're really going to notice it on those 2 boss pulls or those 2 target fights. I'd really like to see some more continued changes. I'd really like to see them kind of change some of the level rows. For example, if we go back here to the hunter talents, I really like the new volley, but if I want to run with calling the shots, it's just not going to work. Where some of these other ones was a no-brainer, like most likely everyone is going to run with Master Marksman. A lot of people are going to run with Careful Aim. Maybe there'll be a few situations where you run with Explosive Shot. I would really like to see the volley moved up here, because each one of these is an AoE except for Careful Aim, which I guess could be if you're wanting to spray damage. But if they could move volley up here and then just make Careful Aim a passive, I don't see why they couldn't do that and then just make another talent down here. I know that's a lot to ask, but that just would only make sense that this is 3 different ways that you can do AoE damage, and you're not kind of shoehorned, as some people in the community have said, to if you're doing AoE, you have to use this because calling the shots will fall off, or if you're doing single target, you have to do Careful Aim because all these are AoE and not worth it. I really hope that Blizzard continues to to take more of our feedback, especially with Marksman, because there's not a ton of people out there playing Marksman. And this is coming from somebody who is unfortunately, like I said, not in the beta, but has been playing Marksman the entire expansion and absolutely loves the spec. I know it has its pitfalls with AoE capping, requiring 3 targets to cleave, but to say that Marksman is a spec that's not viable and is not playable is completely wrong. That's from somebody who played it for, a couple of days and was like, oh, this is garbage, and didn't really learn the ins and outs of the spec, because you do have to do things a certain way, and you have to build with certain Azerite and BFA, and then you're probably going to have certain traits come Shadowlands. So I really hope they continue to build on this stuff. And you know what? I'd really like to see them add some of the old survival abilities, because after all, Marksman and Survival used to be very similar. That was the reason they made Survival a melee spec. Well, I would really like to see other things like maybe Black Arrow. That was a dot that we used to have that would sometimes proc your explosive shot. Back in like Kata, for example. I'd really like to see them bring more of those abilities that you used to have with the old ranged dot class Survival and bring that into Shadowlands. So thanks for checking out this video, guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and check me out over at Twitch at twitch.tv/Mr. Eggplant. I'll be making content for BFA right up until Shadowlands comes out, and I'll continue to make Shadowlands videos for Wowhead stuff, that sort of thing, unless obviously I get into the beta, which would be amazing. But Marksman is my favorite spec. It's always going to be my main, and I'm going to continue to try to find a way to continue to play it right into Shadowlands and do my best damage possible. So leave me your feedback below. Let me know what you thought of some of the changes here. With all of the beta changes that's going to happen here very soon, whether that be the redesigns, will you be picking Chimera Shot, what do you think of the talents, that sort of thing. So thanks for watching, and until my next live stream or video, I'll see you later. Thanks, guys.